Welcome to the SyFy Sistas live show.
It broke so many. If you know anything about Robert Smalls, you know that he was a slave who stole a Confederate Navy ship and surrendered it to the Union Army. What you don't know is that he became the most famous black man in the world. My name is Rob Edwards. I'm the writer of Defiant. Before that, I wrote a movie called The Princess and the Frog, Treasure Planet, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Full House, In Living Color, a bunch of stuff. Anytime anybody does anything in any movie, you try to find what is the heart behind it, what's driving it. For me, this guy was trying to make the world a better place for his family.
This film, Defiant, has become a huge purpose of mine. My name is Marvin Jones III. Many of you may know me from Black Lightning, Harry's Law, Enter the Spider-Verse. The Robert Smalls story is, to me, a complete American superhero story.
Some contexts he's captain, others he's congressman. I grew up hearing about Grandpa. My name is Michael Boulware Moore. I really have a cellular connection to the story about my great-great-grandfather.
The first time I spoke about Robert Smalls was in April of 1976. For him to have the power and sort of the internal stuff to dream big dreams, the sheer audacity to make those dreams come true at that period of time, to me, is what I'm most proud about.
May 12th of 1862, all the white crew were ashore. He got his family and the family of all of the enslaved crew on a 140-foot gunship, and they stole it.
It was more than the heist of a ship, it was a heist of freedom. My name is Bill Duke, executive producer of Defiant. What made me personally want to get involved with this project was the overall message of the story. It's not just about Captain Smalls' life, but it's about who he was and what he overcame.
They make him the captain of the vessel, first African-American to command a United States naval vessel, to being the most senior African-American to serve during the Civil War.
He fights in 17 battles. He's present when the Confederate colors are finally struck at the end of the war at Fort Sumter.
Becomes hugely famous. P.T. Barnum has him give speeches because he was that big a draw. It broke so many stereotypes about what enslaved people could do, who they were. He started a railroad. He ran for Congress successfully many times. He is the reason why we have a public school system. He's the reason why black people are in the military. To top it all off, the guy was a badass.
He actually bought a mansion that he was a former slave in and kept the slave owner's wife in her own place at the mansion and took care of her for the rest of her life.
Only a superhero could have that type of empathy, that type of humility, that type of forgiveness.
Every time you hear stories like this told, you hear about just the pain of slavery, and there'll be a lot of that, and then there'll be an escape. And then the end of it is, oh good, he's free. But nobody ever talks about what happens afterwards. The world of Black America changed. Doctors, lawyers, millionaires came out of nowhere. Robert Smalls was key to that. He was the embodiment of all the great things that were happening during Reconstruction. Slavery had ended, but racism hadn't put its boots on yet. We get to make the movie we want to make once the graphic novel is out there, because people will understand what we're doing.
Everything on television at this point is a video game or a graphic novel, and I think that speaks to the importance and the impact that this youth generation that we're in right now has on entertainment.
I'm loving it that it's getting into schools. In fact, we've got a supplement that we're putting out with it, written by Dr. Maisha Eatman, who's a history professor at Harvard. Defiant, the graphic novel, has a who's who of artistic talent. We have Nicholas Draper-Ivey, the artist who does Static Shock over at DC. We have Sean Damian Hill, who's doing the interiors for us. Ray Anthony Height, one of the biggest black comedy artists in the world, and he's doing covers for us.
Hi, this is Sebastian Jones, president of Stranger Comics. I'm so incredibly proud of the incredible art team that have really poured themselves into this book in a way that makes you feel inspired.
Creating something that can package just such a powerful story in a compelling, even riveting kind of a way, it will spark kind of a groundswell that could be just a wonderful lead-in to this feature film.
When we went to Kickstarter, we wound up with $154,000 from 1,800 people. I think people are really going to want to see this movie.
Legion M is working to bring the story of Captain Robert Smalls to the screen.
The team that Legion M has pulled together is just a fabulous group. I am really impressed with the business model.
Legion M looks at people beyond the numbers to the heart and the opinions of the people in the Legion. We love the idea of a movie about Robert Smalls.
I think this is this kind of story that you want to help tell.
To the extent that it's relevant, I think the family will be 1,000% behind the project and give a measure of authenticity and approval.
This film is going to bring us all together in a way where we're going to walk away being better human beings for learning the story of Robert Smalls.
Hi, everybody. I know, right? Like, that's so awesome. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the SyFy Sistas live show on a Tuesday night. It's so good to be back. It feels like it's been forever. I'm Sister Tamia. I'm joined here by Sister Yvette.
Hello.
And Sister Sabrina.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. Wow, what a cool video. And so yes, we're here tonight to talk about Defiant, and we are going to be joined by
No,
two
not that
amazing
Defiant.
men. No, not that Defiant. The other
Oh
one
my
that we
God.
just saw. We are going to be joined tonight by two amazing men, producers, some of the producers who you saw in that video there. Mr. Chris Cooper, an extraordinary brand maker and visionary. He's worked with everybody from the NBA to the NFL, the MLB, NASCAR, MTV, Sony, ABC, Disney. The man is all over the place. What's up, Chris? How you doing?
I'm doing well, but you got me feeling, thinking about why I chose to go the independent creative route, a project like Defiant. That's not legacy building, what you just read off. So that's where I'm at with Defiant.
That's that. There you go. There you go. We
Word
need
up.
more people. We need more people to think that way too.
That's
Amen.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, and our other brother that's joining us, if you all have watched Black Lightning, first of all, you probably know his music. And then if you watch Black Lightning, you were like, oh, I love this brother. None other than Marvin Krondon Jones. Come on in here, brother. How you doing?
Hey, how you guys doing?
We
Good. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having us.
Oh,
so
brothers.
excited, so excited you guys are here.
Yeah, great to be here.
We are like, this endeavor is really true to our hearts. When we found out about what was going on with this story, we all unanimously, immediately wanted to find a way to help bring this to the world. It's an incredible story. It's history that some of us, myself included, did not know before this story was brought to us. So can you guys talk a little bit about how you came to be involved in this project?
Sure.
I'll let Chris, you go first, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a reason, there's a logic to why I'm going to start with this. So as you mentioned, all those brands that I've been involved with, all those big corporate brands, I was doing that from the lens of a small startup in the East Bay, up in the Silicon Valley, up in Emeryville. And I was with a company called Moby TV. And essentially, they've invented mobile television on the phone way before anyone else did. Just a bunch of really smart people that wanted to disrupt an industry. And I was getting it out of school and I wanted part of that. So the founders of Moby TV, I worked with them to build that brand into everything that you guys have known, from UFC mobile to NFL mobile to, you name it. We won an Emmy for that company. But then the company was, we ended up stepping away from that company, pretty much all of us. And the same two guys started Legion M. So Jeff Aniston and Paul Scanlon wanted to disrupt basically the film industry, and as they say, open up the gates to Hollywood. So once again, 10 years later, I was down for the ride. So I came in, I came in as a marketing consultant, and in that role, I started reading lots of scripts that pertain to people of color. And when this script came across my desk, that's when I decided to put on my producer hat and step into that role. So that was about 4.5 years ago that we started developing the script with Robert Blake Whitehill, a member of the Legion M community. So I should also point out that the idea for Defiant came from the Legion M community. So there was a meme going around the internet that said, we've got 12 Fast and the Furious movies, 15 Star Wars. Why isn't there a movie about this guy? So I'm sure your audience has seen that. Yeah, there you go. Pitch Perfect. That's the one. Right. And so basically the Legion M community is about, it's about 200,000 people. And with the percentage of them, about a quarter of them are investors with real dollars backing projects. And they really said, hey, we need to make this movie. So that's when we answered the call and started developing the movie as a script. And that led me to my longtime friend from back in the day when I worked in the hip hop entertainment industry with Live Nation. And we did this tour called Rock the Bells back in the day.
Yes.
And that's when I met my man.
One of my
Marvin.
favorite ones.
I know you almost killed Yvette. Did you see what you did?
Yeah, I'll tell you this, and I'm going to hand it to Marvin. But that's when I met Marvin back in the day. Marvin was on the Paid Dues tour of Rock the Bells, and we connected through some mutual friends, and we've been tight ever since. So Marvin was my first phone call once I got a look at the Defiant script, and I said, hey, man, I got something to send you. What do you think? So I'm going to hand it to you, Marvin, because that's kind of when you came into the picture.
Yeah, well, that will, like Chris said, the Rock the Bells days in the pick. Because I think initially it was Rock the Bells we met, the actual Rock the Bells tour, and then I'll never forget, it was in the Bay in San Francisco on that tour, and it was a significant day for a lot of reasons for me. So that's why I remember it. Some significant things in my life.
That was the
happened.
last time Tribe.
Yes.
That was the last time Tribe
was
performed
on
together.
The
We
Tribe
were all
Called Quest.
Yeah, me and Marvin were
and
we were on the
Rage
back
Against the
line.
Machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rage Against the Machine and Tribe and Wu-Tang and all of that. And like I say, that day is still very significant in my life to this very day. And that's when Chris and I met. And then because Chris worked for Sprint, and Sprint was sponsoring. Sprint's not even around anymore, but you guys remember Sprint Mobile.
Now they know how old I am.
Right.
Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club, exactly.
Yeah, so
Sprint or Nextel. Sprint and Nextel are both gone.
Oh, Nextel.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
All that, yeah. So
Nextel.
So they were one of the sponsors for that tour that I was on, and and we just maintained a friendship through those channels. And you got to think now it's 2025, so that was Lord,
It was
2011. I mean, no, excuse me, no, 07. What am I saying?
Yeah, 07, yeah.
2007. So you're talking a long time ago. And years passed, and about 2010, 11 is when I started acting. So I was doing music for a long time, and then I started acting, and not even acting full time, but I began to enter into film and television, and then paying my dues, no pun intended, in that way for some years, and then around 2017, 16, going into 17, I booked a show called Black Lightning that you guys all know and everybody's like watches and that show that show was like a really huge break for me as an actor, right? And allowed me, it was really a life-changing role. It allowed me to step completely away from music and just focus on acting. And I don't know, about 3 years into that, 4 years into that show, Chris, again, Chris and I always in touch, just as friends. And then I don't know, when I keep saying it was 2020, but it might have been 21, but I'm not sure. I'm kind of confused if it was
It
2020 or
was the
21.
COVID time.
Chris
It was
reached out
before,
to
right
me.
before COVID. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it was COVID time, and I, I was doing this television show in Atlanta, shooting. I was in Atlanta 9 months out the year, and I would come back to LA for like 3 months. And Chris reached out to me. And he said, "Hey, man, which he had already reached out about the show before, and we talked about the show. But he's like, hey, man, I'm working with this company. Told me about Legion M. I hadn't necessarily heard of Legion M at the time, and explained to me the makeup of Legion M and how their company was structured. And I thought it was very interesting. And at the time, up to my neck in pursuing my acting career. Um, he said, "Hey man, I got this script I want you to read." And at first, I didn't know if he wanted me, and this was just on the phone. I didn't know if he wanted me to like be in the movie or what my role would be necessarily. But I told him, "Yeah, man, sure, let me read the script." And I read the script, and much like you guys, when he tells me about Robert Smalls, and then I'm reading the script, and I'm like, "This really happened?" He's like, "No, this guy's real." And then I did my homework. They showed me the meme. I, went down, the rabbit hole that is the internet at this point, and discovered the real story of Robert Smalls. And now I got the script in my hand, and I was, in a lot of ways, somewhat ashamed, you know, as a black man at the time. I was, in my early 40s, um, that I had never heard of this guy, and I never heard of the story, and I considered myself to be well versed, in history, completely, but especially Black history, and you know, things coming from slavery into Reconstruction on up through Jim Crow and civil rights and so on, right? And I had never heard of Robert Smalls, so I read the script, and we had a meeting, and Bill Duke, he let me know Bill Duke was already on the project, and that was a really big um, green flag for me
Yeah,
because I
shout
was
out to the
already
legend.
working.
Yes.
Yeah, shout out to Bill Duke,
Yes.
because Bill Duke at that point but at that point Bill Duke and I were already working together on Black Lightning,
Right.
and he was a real mentor, and he really poured into me my years on Black Lightning, like really, like we had
Oh,
become fast friends, and I considered him a big brother. So when they let me know that he was already on the project as a producer,
Which
and
I
that they
didn't
wanted me
know.
to come,
I didn't
which you
know
didn't
that they
know,
had.
right?
Yeah, no. I had already
Yeah,
been working with Bill for about 6 months to a year on this project, and I didn't know that Marvin and him were tight. That's just how organic
wow.
things
Oh,
were. Yeah.
wow.
That's how it
that
works.
which I felt was
Synchronicity,
crazy
baby.
because yeah, for sure. And like I say, and Bill Duke and I were like, I mean, like really, really, like we're really, really tight. So, and I have such a immense amount of respect for him, as a creative, as an actor, as an activist, and a director, a writer, and all of those things. So, we all met. I think it was me, Chris, Paul, and Bill, and they asked me to come on as a producer, and I felt very honored to even be asked to come on a project that had such purpose, and that was, in my humble opinion, believe that it is vital to the continuing of telling our story in America,
Mhm.
and I think that it's a shame that the story hasn't been told on a bigger scale already, not just in film and television, but also through educational curriculum, and just in households, across all of the urban territory that we as black people populate.
Yeah.
And it became very purposeful for me at the time. As you guys know, Black Lightning being the first black superhero family on network television,
Mhm.
by way of DC,
Gosh. So
also
good.
had kind of given me an understanding of how impactful telling our own stories are.
Mm-hmm.
is,
Exactly.
and I wanted to continue to do work in that way, you know. And by that time, he had called me. I had did Black Lightning, and I had already done Spider-Man Enter the Spider-Verse, the first Black
Yes.
Spider-Man with Miles Morales,
Yay.
for Marvel, and I understood how important that was,
Oof.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yep.
for us as a people. So it, you know, this kind of just fell in line for me, and to be able to take on a different role and a different hat, because I think when they were brought in, they're like, oh, you know, and yeah, you know, you come on a producer and you can play a role if you want, and we can find a role. And I'm saying, man, I
You can
don't
still
care
do that,
about.
by the way.
I know. We always talk about that, and I came on, you know, this particular project with no real intention of acting in it. I just wanted to make sure that it got told.
I
I
hear
think
Mm.
that
that.
for me,
Yeah.
that's more important than me, you know, taking on a role or bringing some light to myself in it. Um, I'm not doing this at all for self promotion. I'm doing this so that this story is told for many generations to come.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I love that point because, you know, we talk often on our show about the importance of our representation, right? And of course, like over the years, that conversation has changed and shifted a little bit. We often, like, we used to focus a lot on underrepresentation and trying to explain to people what it's like when you are the people who are portrayed in specific ways consistently throughout mainstream media, right? So that, like, if people don't really know a black person in real life, they're going to think like, okay, you're a hustler, you know, you're a
Hmm.
pimp, you're a hoe, you're this, you're that, you know, you're whatever you see um constantly in media representation, you know. Or like
Yeah,
we had a huge conversation about when you watch the nightly news and you see which
yeah,
crimes are being reported on the nightly news and how many times do you
yeah,
see people with different colored skin being
yeah,
highlighted in
yeah.
those crimes, as opposed to what, you know. And now that situation has changed so much because what we're actually seeing is an active attempt at erasure. So we're not even talking about representation, like
Yeah.
the like
Mhm.
underrepresentation anymore. We're talking about actually telling the truth and having our you know, having our history survive. So that's why I
Survive.
love,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, survive and keep it
Hmm.
alive. So that's why I
Hmm.
love what you just said there. So it's so
Yeah.
yeah.
I just want to say something. I know in my family we always tell a very oral history. We have a long history. We know where our, you know, our ancestors are from. We know we've been here for a very, very long time. And I see that one of our one of the people in the chat also was saying that their uncles and aunts and grandparents had told them this story. Now, I
Hmm.
didn't hear this story, but there's a story of John Fortin that we know
Hmm.
about, and he was a shipping merchant, and he was
Hmm.
during after the Revolutionary War. So, you know,
Hmm.
and I know about Philadelphia and the AME Church, and you know, there's so many of
Hmm.
these stories. And like
Hmm.
Tamia was saying, we have to tell these stories because they're erasing everything. And I mean,
You're
when we were
erasing
growing
everything. Yeah.
up, they
Yeah.
didn't teach us any of this. We learned
Right.
these
No.
because people kept telling the stories, just like
Hmm.
Black Wall Street. Nobody told us
Yeah.
that,
Right.
but
Nobody told us
the
that.
people kept telling those stories. And this is what we
Yeah.
have to do. We have to keep telling these stories. We have to, like
Yes.
you men right here, you strong black men sitting in front of us, you have
Hmm.
to tell these stories
Yeah.
because you are who people look up to. We are black women. We tell our stories. We do it. But
Yeah.
people will listen to a man before they listen to a woman, unfortunately. So you have to
What?
be out there,
Well,
but we have to do it together. You
yeah,
know,
no,
it
I think
Yeah.
can't
that's
be
Yeah.
I
that's
think
really
it
it's
the
can't
balancing
be
out
like
now.
this,
yeah.
right?
I
We
think
all
I
black
got to
definitely
be
women have a
out here
voice.
telling
yeah.
these
Yeah, and
stories because
I
like she said, they're erasing everything now.
I think
Mhm.
that, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, sis. I think that what's happening now, and we're seeing it, you know, in so many ways, and especially in film and television, when it comes to storytelling and you know, um, impactful
Mhm.
storytelling. I think, you know, with the, you know, Lena Waithe and Mara Brock Akil and Ava
Hmm.
DuVernay and so on
Yeah.
and so forth. I think that black women have a voice now too,
Mhm.
that wasn't when I was growing up. I didn't see. and I didn't hear. So I think it's balanced out. But I agree with what you're saying as well. But I think I like to say that one hand washes the other, and both hands wash the face.
Yeah.
So that's where we are as black men and women, and just as a united front, to tell these stories,
That's it
because
right
like you
there.
said about
Yeah.
Black Wall Street, man, like think about it. If you really think about it, and nobody's saying this, right? Because now everybody knows about Black Wall Street, right? But we didn't know about that 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Right. Right. It
No
wasn't a
way. No
thing.
one knew
Right.
about
No, you hear
and
like
maybe
Tom Hanks talking about Tulsa, right? Like stuff
Yeah,
that
a
we've known
few
about, even
people
stuff we
did.
have known about, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
He's
and
finding it
wasn't
maybe
out
a
prominent.
this year.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
a select few know about it,
Right.
It's
Well,
a
thank
lot
you,
like with the Robert
Lovecraft
Smalls,
Country. Thank you,
Lovecraft.
Lovecraft Country, for telling more people about what happened in Tulsa. That was where a lot of people heard it for the first time.
You know, and
Yeah.
you'll find
on
that
what
all
on
over the
what
country. You know, I mean,
say it again.
Lovecraft Country.
Lovecraft Country, but then in truth, check this out. See, I'm glad you said that. But it wasn't even Lovecraft Country. HBO had a show that came on 2 years prior to Lovecraft Country
Yes.
called The Watchmen
Watchmen.
with
The
Regina
Watchmen.
King.
I was just about to say it was The
you're correct.
Watchmen
You're
first.
correct.
With
Watchmen
Regina King.
first. Yeah.
The
Yep.
You remember
It was
that?
The Watchmen first.
Yes.
Yes.
And I am
Of
so
course.
sorry
So
I
that was-
misspoke, my brother.
So think about it. That was 2 years before.
Yep.
And you know the interesting part about what you just said? Oh man, I'm getting chills because I'm thinking about it. And I was doing Black Lightning at the time. So I was really tapped in, and I'm still tapped in, but I'm saying at that time I'm like micro tapped into what's happening with our stories, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Think about Watchmen with Regina King, right?
Mhm.
That
Yes.
show was phenomenal,
Oh my God. Yes.
right? And the opening, I don't know if you remember episode 1, it was that was the Tulsa massacre, the opening
Yep.
scene
Yes.
of that,
Opening
right?
scene.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, so we're on the same page, right?
Yep.
Beginning of the
And
whole
then-
story.
Right.
You remember that, right? And
Yeah.
then you go
Now,
into
yes, thank you.
Lovecraft Country, right?
Yep.
And we know
Uh-huh.
Lovecraft Country in that story, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Both of those shows got one season.
One season, baby. You knew it.
Boom.
I knew it. When I was
Axe.
watching The Watchmen the first time, I said, oh
One.
shit, this is too powerful. I said, this is too deep. They're not gonna let this run.
No,
You know,
They're not
and
gonna let
and I
this run.
and I, you know, sure as hell they didn't. And also, you know, Regina King's character on there. That's that was like
Too much.
That was
such
too
a
much.
such a badass.
Too
Like, I mean,
good.
that was, you know, what we
Too
say in
good.
in the house music of the 80s is too black, too strong. You know,
Yeah,
like I mean,
exactly.
she just came with it. And you know, and I knew then that they were their days were limited.
Very
that
true.
was too much
Yeah.
truth. And especially on the platform that they were on, you know.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
so
there's a point in this. So I think one of the things that unites Marvin and I on this project, besides our friendship, is that we both feel like this is part of our purpose now. Like as people that have been put on Earth to tell this story. And one of the huge turning points on this project. So I should back up and say we shopped the original script a little bit. I'll say lightly. And people were blown away by the story. They were shocked. They'd never heard about it, but we weren't really getting the momentum that we wanted on the project.
What's the marketability of it?
Well, initially it was.
No, that's the question. Like,
Well, no, I mean, so you're touching on where I'm going with this. Initially, there was a ton of black pain in the original script. It was very heavily focused on Robert Smalls being a slave and enslaved person, and the conditions that would, you know, create an escape, and then the whole, you know, thing that Hollywood wants to see, which is the adventure on the water.
Right.
And we talked to a lot of the A-list black producers at the time, directors, and everyone loved it and everything, but you know, something wasn't connecting. So Marvin and I worked with the Legion M team and one of the execs on the team, David, and he connected us with Rob Edwards, and Rob, you know, is a master of telling. I don't know, like a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. I would say that Rob is the master of that when it comes to black stories, from, you know, Fresh Prince and Living Color. Those were political shows all the way to, you know, even Princess and the Frog. I mean,
Princess and the Frog,
Yes.
those were doing something besides just entertaining. So I
Right.
think the momentum shifted when we brought in Rob, and Rob, came in and said, "Here's my idea." And so I know that you feel a certain way about that too, Marvin. But that was really when we saw Hollywood start to say, "Okay, what are you guys doing over there?" When we brought Rob.
Ah.
Yeah, but
I
I
feel
think
like
that. Go
no,
ahead,
go
sis. Go
please.
ahead.
No, please go
No,
ahead.
no, no, no. I was all I was going to say. Thank you. All I was going to say is that, and just to follow up what Chris said is, I think that what Rob Edwards brought to the project again was an understanding that the story of the the consumed narrative of slavery in film and television has kind of been beaten to a pulp.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
And
Lord.
we haven't
Yes.
seen, and again, no, I mean that with all sensitivity, but at
Mhm.
the same time, I know that our stories are far more, we know that our stories are far more extensive than that.
Yes.
And that what is being pushed down the 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 palate of everybody is something that does not, it's more tragedy than it is triumph.
Mm-hmm.
and and we as a people, just to exist in 2025 in America the way that we exist, us being on this call right now, is exemplary to the triumph of Black people.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
And I believe the story of Robert Smalls is so unique in a way is because it's, the story is called Defiant because he truly was defiant, but it also could be called triumphant
Yeah.
because he
Mhm.
Yeah.
ultimately was triumphant, um, by way of being a young Black man enslaved and making it out of that to a point of prominence that still hasn't been duplicated to this day by any Black man.
Mm.
Yeah.
And no amount of billionaires or athletes or um, you know politicians or anything can really match what this guy was able to come through, persevere, and go on to a place of prominence, like this. So it's and I think Rob understood that and had the ability, through his storytelling, because again, like Chris was saying, the things that Rob did, in on his resume, from Fresh Prince to Living Color to um, Princess and the Frog, as some of those things may have been comedy or lighthearted or like a Disney cartoon, but I think just the fact that they exist
Mm-hmm.
is revolutionary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if, no
Mhm.
matter how
Yes.
political they were or militant they were, the idea that they exist
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
is
mean,
is in
Princess and the
itself
Frog.
revolutionary.
Princess and the
Yeah.
Frog
Yeah.
is extremely revolutionary. I mean, I have 3 daughters who that is their princess. I mean, they liked all the others, but when that
Mhm.
came out, it was like, you know, that was mind blowing, to them, and
Yeah,
still
yeah.
to this day, and they're all grown women, not grown, not they're little tiny adults, but still that is their, I mean, they hear the music, they see that she's at Disney World, they still act like little girls when they
Hmm.
see her. And that just gives me joy because
Hmm.
I know what it feels like to never have that. Like I remember when Black
Hmm.
Barbie came out, that
Yeah.
was something, Chrissy, that because
Mm-hmm.
that's who Black Barbie was.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
Princess and the Frog is Princess Tiana.
Mhm.
Oh,
Tiana.
I
Yeah,
love her. I
Tiana.
still love her.
Yeah. No,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
God.
that was key because so that was another thing. Like strategically, I really love working with these men. I mean, from the beginning, we said
That's right.
we're going to make this project as Black as possible. That's
There you go.
Say about
There
that.
you go.
so I got to give a shout out to Jeff and Paul from Legion M,
Mhm.
who are both white, who actually looked to me and said, you know, it would be most appropriate for you to take a leadership position on this project, and we'll
Mm-hmm.
support you in whatever way we can. So to have people backing you that are, allies and advocates that allow you to have your own, sense of what is right and wrong on a project, and don't really question the Black experience that you carry into the project. It has been a blessing to me for sure. I mean, we have our moments, but it's more about people, doing this in the movie industry, right? It's like you have various opinions, but when it comes to the cultural components, I feel like Marvin and I, we have a voice that is definitely taking the leadership alongside Rob, of course, and of course Bill Duke and Robert Small's great grandson, who's Michael Bulwer Moore. The Black voice is definitely present in what we're doing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's what's so. What was so one of the things that was so impressive to me when I was reading everything, in the Kickstarter about the project, is was that exactly, because I feel like, as much as possible, I think we as Black people collectively are coming to a larger, wider understanding of the importance of being in control of our own narrative and in control of our own stories, and the importance of finding alternative methods to get these stories out to the world, and I just love the fact that the world is a much different place than it was 30 years ago or 20 years ago, media wise, that there's so much more access to the everyday person being able to tell a story or put some content. I mean, it can bring us a lot of crap too, but at the same time, it brings us a lot of access,
Our joke when we started so the reason we did the graphic novel is because we wanted to prove that this powerful Black story had a space, in the atmosphere. And we did do that. We proved it many times over. Right now, we're #1 on Amazon for in graphic novels in several categories. We've our distributor right now. We work with our publisher. Shout out to Stranger, who I don't know if you read the Niobe.
Yes, Sebastian's been here.
Yeah. That was another pivotal moment. That was pivotal when Stranger and Sebastian and Josh came in and said, "Hey, we love what you're doing," and they stepped it up a notch.
Seb is the best.
And that's what you're holding right there. So, the people that are involved, they're all passionately here to tell Black stories. So I don't know. I mean, I've been blown away by the artwork. You saw in the video Nicholas Draper Ivey, who did the cover of Kendrick Lamar's Black Panther album. We got Ray Anthony Height. We have so many people that have been on this project, and everybody's coming in and saying they're here because of the passion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you feel that.
So I just put the link to pre-order in there.
You mentioned 30 years ago. Here's what's interesting to me right now, which is that when we started this project and we got to the part where we were going to do this graphic novel, we used to joke and say, "Oh yeah, our book," because we would see people talking in places like Florida and Alabama, like politicians, but there was no national anything to fear. And we're like, hope our book isn't banned, by the time it comes out. But I mean, as we sit here right now, this push for Black disenfranchisement is just as relentless now as it was when Robert Smalls was alive.
Hello.
I think it's crazy that, he actively fought against these efforts. And we're fighting against those same forces right now, like literally, to get his story out.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's so important that you said that. I mean, this is the fight, right? Like there can be no equivocation about hemming and hawing about which side I might be on, or maybe we shouldn't. No, there is only one job right now, and that job is to speak our truth, to continuously speak our truth, to stand up to people who are trying to suppress our truth. That is the one job.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
and as much as we as SyFy Sistas can help continue to do that, we will. We will continue. Our whole mission is to shine a light on Black creativity and Black thought. That's in our mission statement. That's what we do.
Amen.
So it feels like it's even like you said, it's even of more importance now. Like we actually have a battle. It was more intellectual when we founded ourselves, when we were founded in 2019, right?
Yes.
Right.
It is a very concrete battle.
Concrete now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's right in
Oh
your
my
face.
God.
There's
In it.
nobody hiding. You know, when
Yep.
I grew up, my parents are both from Louisiana. My grandfather's from Alabama. And when I was a kid, I spent, you know, my summers in Louisiana, out in Lake Charles, Sulphur. And my grandfather used to say, you can run across the lines that don't have the, you know, what the Confederate flag on them. He said, everywhere. He said, you can go, you can't run across those lines. He's like, everywhere else, you're free to go run and play around. And the thing I remember was that I knew the people wide out and open who didn't want me, you know, and as part of their life experience or on their lawn, if you might want to say. And I feel like we spent a lot of years not knowing that. But I feel right now, I feel the same as I did as a kid. I can see whose lawn to run on and who's not. I can see people are showing themselves.
Yeah.
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 Well, I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, so you know I know where the lines were because it was
sundown.
They had basically sunset sections of Boston, Massachusetts, and you just better know where the line was. It was that's how I grew up. It's like it's not 100 years ago. It was like 20. It could be like last week if you were over there. But yeah, and you're right. They're all coming out and they're showing their spots, and they're thinking like nobody is going to do anything. Like somebody else said, well, this isn't 1955 anymore. Okay. We're here and you can't put the genie back. These stories are going to come out. They're going to come out on every kind of platform, and there ain't nothing you can do.
That's right.
And I think that's what a project like Defiant does, and shout out to Legion M and the whole idea of Legion M for, like Chris said, like allowing us to put together, well, them first, allowing Chris in the initial parts, but now, us as a collective, allowing us to put together a team that is representing a justice being corrected to an injustice. I think the story of Robert Smalls and Defiant is truly us righting a wrong in American history. I don't think that it's so much isolated to just of course it's our story, and it's Black history. That goes without saying. He's a Black man, right? But it's truly American history, really.
Right.
Hello. Yes.
Yes.
Right.
True American history.
Yes.
True American history. And I think that's the one of the most purposeful parts about the project is that despite what we know is happening right now in the climate of America, we still have allies and advocates, resources and reputation that works in our favor to be able to get the story to this point, right? And it's only going to be for the benefit of the generations to come. It's going to be a benefit to us,
Yeah.
of course, but the generation that is now below us and after us, it's just says something about you can't stop what God has planned. So I believe that I believe that the story being told in this way, in such a grand way, on a grand scale, and then going into producing a film about his legacy and his story is, again, it's a plan that's bigger than all of us, right? But with all things, we still have to take the steps that are ordered to see it through.
Yeah.
And I don't think that in the time where our history is being erased every day from every angle, that's done from as I could say, if I could, I don't want to be too spiritual, but it's from an earthly realm. And when you're dealing with something like this, as I'm looking at this cover here, and you see it, and you know that there's something greater happening in the spiritual realm, because for how long has this story not been told.
Right.
Right.
And
Right.
and we can no longer say that.
Right.
Now it's not about how long it hasn't been told. It's about, hey, do you know about this story?
That's
Did
right.
you see
Mm-hmm.
this
Go get
graphic
it.
novel?
Pre-order.
Yeah, pre-order this story, right? Purchase this story that you haven't heard, and I
Link in
think
the
that that's
chat.
something.
Link in the chat.
I think that's something that's beneficial for not just black boys and girls, men and women, but for all men and women.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Boys and girls. I think that this story is right up there with some of the things that we have, that's been reiterated over time. Um, like a Harriet Tubman or Martin Luther King, or dare I say Nat Turner, because they don't want us to know that true story.
Oh, right. Oh, you can't know about Nat Turner now. Come on now.
But they don't want us to know that.
We need a
But
Nat Turner book. We need Legion M to do Nat Turner next.
right.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
That was-
But you know that those are possibilities. So that was one of the things. So we worked with Dr. Maisha Eatman, who's African
Harvard.
African American, at Harvard, African American Studies professor and writer in her own right. She's amazing, and she was uncovering person after person to the point where we were debating on our producer calls whether or not we should be doing a limited series or if we should be making a movie. So that dialogue, so that happened, and I think what we realized was that there's a place for both, and out of the gate, we want to impact as many people as we can, and then we already have a monumental accomplishment by getting this book out. So we know that when people do go dig deeper, and they're going to find resources, and we might end up be involved in a series later. But I agree with you 100%, Marvin, that this is a spiritual thing, and I see it playing out in places that I didn't know I'd see it. So we have one of the largest distributors of books to libraries and schools and to bookstores in the country that is distributing this book through Stranger Comics, through that relationship. And I was on a call with them yesterday, and they said that the amount of books that we've sold right now is equivalent to what they have seen 6 weeks into the launch of a product. So,
wow.
So essentially what we've been doing for the last 5 days is trying to figure out how to get books. We literally got the books that were headed over here on a boat into an airplane. So we're trying to, they have told us stories. Our distributors told us stories of bookstores who have ordered one book and within 3 days came back and wanted 40, 50, 60 books. And these are small, independent books. These are not just Amazon. So I'm seeing this as a validation of what Marvin is saying, which is now you guys, everybody on this call, everybody in the sound of our voices, you've been touched. It's on you now. You're part of the journey for us to tell this story. It's not just my story or Marvin's or Legion M's or Stranger or Rob's. This is now something that we're all a part of together. And I think that's the thing that people are connecting to. You guys go tell it to your friends and your family.
That's it.
I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah,
I feel
exactly.
This moment makes me feel a lot like the Sinners moment, because I feel like we were all connected in a spiritual moment with that film, a cultural and spiritual moment. I don't know if you guys remember a movie. Well, this might just be really local DC history. There is a movie called Sankofa by
Oh my gosh.
by Haile Garima. You know it?
Come on.
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So
Yeah.
I remember when Sankofa first came out in the 80s, and Haile Garima is a professor here at Howard University. I live in DC. And I remember it came out in a limited small run at this one theater in DC, a little small theater. I think it was the Jennifer. And we had so many Black people there to see that movie. And this is when DC was Chocolate City, right? So we're no longer Chocolate City, but we used to be Chocolate City. And if y'all don't know what Chocolate City is, if you're out there listening, Google it.
Google it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we took that movie from a 1-week run to like a 5-month run in multiple theaters, because so the word kept building about the importance of this movie and what beautiful storytelling it was. And then all of us, like I saw it 5 times, I think, like, all of us, everybody in DC was seeing that movie. And then so that it reminds me kind of the Sinners moment, and then it reminds me about what's happening now with Defiant. And that is like a raising of our energy, right? A raising of our, we talk about raise a joyful noise, make a joyful noise. Like that's what we're doing in the cosmos. And that type of energy is just as important, if not more important, than any other type of rabble rousing that we can do.
Right. Right. I think it goes to Sankofa, which I watched. I was a kid. And I mean, I say a kid, I mean like when I first became very self-aware of the importance of my own consciousness as a Black man. So this is preteens and into my teenage years, and of course, with hip hop, was the world that I come from. Hip hop around that time had a real conscious period.
Yes.
That kind of defined me of who the man I am today, right? And the things that when I think back on it, and I think about the projects that God has again allowed me to be a part of, which is beyond my control, Defiant being included in that. It just tells when you look at the whole story, you see the connecting of the dots, right? When you step back and you see the whole thing. And I agree with you, sis, wholeheartedly. And I never even correlated that with Sinners as far as cinema. And you're very right about that. And and Defiant being in that the timing and the vein of that as well makes me more excited to take this into full scale production, right? Because there is something happening on actually on a spiritual level and on the earthly realm, but with Defiant, Sinners, Sankofa, I think, and so many other projects that are like that, right? If I don't know if you guys saw Nickel Boys,
haven't yet,
right?
but
Right, and Ava's last picture, I can't remember the name right now, it's slipping me. Godly.
The one about the one that Sabrina,
no,
Yeah.
like what?
like the one that was based on Cast, right? Based on the book Cast.
Yes, exactly. Godly, it just came out last year. I can't remember the name. It starts with an F. Somebody help me out. Google, help us out.
I'm looking at chat for you.
But
The chat didn't say it yet.
But with this thing that we see happening, and even in television and the stories that are being told there, right? Like Supercell and all these things that are happening in television that I'm seeing, especially from the Black narrative. Our
Version?
always has been and always will be for us, if we are conscious of it, that is our protest.
Yeah.
Origin.
Yeah,
That was
Origin.
That is one of
Origin.
the things that Rob talks about, which is
This is
just
our purpose.
illustrating Black people living normal lives on this can be a protest. I just talked
the art itself.
right.
Just living. That's a protest.
That's such a powerful point, Marvin.
We always say just being a Black woman is so political. just to be.
That's my existence,
Yeah.
Like all of it, so our art is always, I think, especially when we are telling truth and bringing truth to power, it kind of it does the work. You know what I'm saying? Like the work that we know. Exactly. The work that we
forever
know.
to type it.
And I mean, if you think about,
I know, it's just typing it like
that's what somebody like Ava represents, though, in all of her work, right? It's like what needs to be done internally, and deep down inside, you know, the boundaries that have been set before you, but then you allow your art to bring truth to that power and break down those barriers for you. I think the Robert Small story, Defiant, you know, and I mean the title says it all. I believe that's the one thing about the project since the inception of it. For me, I knew for me it was purposeful because I feel like the title says way more than we ever could. Right?
It sets the tone.
Yeah,
exactly. Like when you think about the life of Robert Smalls and you think about the word defiant, we as Black people encompass that in entirety, right? I think that you know, a goal of mine, and I talk about this, I say this all the time, a goal of mine with this project, and I think a big reason why we went in the way of graphic novel, right? As let's just go write a novel, or let's go take out this big article in you know whatever magazine or Black magazine or whatever. But let's do a graphic novel, because I think it impacts the youth in a way where they can visualize it and imagine something even greater than what we conceptualized in the book for themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So, you know, like when a kid, you know, puts a blanket over his shoulder and jumps off the bed, he's Superman or Batman. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And when you see a story like this one, you know, with Defiant, and you understand the mentality that it took for him to accomplish these things, even from an interim level of hijacking the ship.
Yeah.
The mental fortitude that took, the heart and the bravery that it took. It's like, well, now my prayer is that we as a people and the generation below us embodies that from such an early age, because it's being conceptualized in a language that they already speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah. And you brought it up earlier when you started talking about, like, I just, you know, I'm a victim of social media, but one of the things that came across my phone this week was that there's more PhDs and EDs, you know, Masters of Education, Black now than any moment in history.
Yep.
And I thought about that, like, well, where's the impact, right? And then I look back at what Marvin was saying, like, you know, all these Black millionaires and billionaires right now, and I see them and I see the power that they have, and because I'm so embedded in this project, like the first thing my mind goes to is that, you know, Robert Smalls wasn't content with his personal freedom. You know, like,
there you go.
He immersed himself in like a political landscape because that was the next thing that needed to be conquered. He immersed himself on, you know, he took over the ship because that was the next thing to be conquered. So like the fact that he was constantly using his mind to find freedom for himself, and in doing that, he knew he was going to elevate other groups of people. I think that is something that is a key component of why I'm attached to this project, because I would love to see more people of influence and affluence have a deeper understanding of kind of what that's about, you know, that kind of relationship with community.
Yes, thank you for saying that. It's a huge point, because I always look at why are our HBCUs so drastically underfunded. If we are so successful these days, financially successful, and a lot of people are, then why are we not giving back to our institutions from which we can, and even if we didn't come from them, even if we went to other institutions, you know, and this is something, you know, why are we not investing in that next generation in the same ways that other communities do? So thank you. That's a personal pet peeve. I just got on my pedestal and I'm down now.
Oh, that's very good.
I got you.
Down now.
Yeah.
You know? So I know we're pretty much close to that time at that time. So I just wanted to ask you guys for the project. Like, I mean, I see, like, thank you everybody in the chat who's already said that you have pre-ordered.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. But
Thank you so much.
Please tell everybody like what you guys need from us now, outside of just the pre-ordering. We know we need that. And then what's the next steps? Where are we at? What are we waiting for?
Well, I can say what we need, and Marvin, you can say the next step. So I'll say what we need right now is we need amplification. We need, when I actually manage some of the messaging for this project, and I can see the engagement that we're getting on everything around Robert Smalls on all the Legion M socials is higher than it's really high, we'll just say. So what I would say is that if you're not following Defiant Project on Instagram, Facebook, if you're please follow Legion M, reshare, every view, every heart, every comment, every save. All that stuff does is it expands our footprint. And so, when I look at the Defiant page right now on Instagram and I see it, we haven't put a lot of effort around growing that socially up until we kind of knew where the project was headed. But we're doing that now. So if you guys can support it, follow, like, and share, all that stuff really matters right now. And of course, pre-order. So you can go to defiantproject.com, or you can just go on whatever social and search up Defiant Project, and you'll find us there.
Okay.
Great.
So next steps on the project, I'm going to give to my fellow producer, Marvin.
Well, we're developing what will be the script for the movie. We've had iterations of the script before, but I'm talking about, these things go in stages, and having, now that we have the concrete IP with the graphic novel, our focus as a unit is in getting the film in full production. So we're talking to directors, we're talking to potential leads, and making sure that we have a script that we all agree on and can feel comfortable rolling out. And we're very close on all fronts. So we always do something. For the last 4 years, we've been going to Comic-Con and all the comic book cons that are around the country, and promoting and informing people about this project. And we're so very delighted that we're at a point now that we have what we have in Defiant, the graphic novel. And now we want to come to these same places because they've been so supportive of us on this journey, and with the Kickstarter and people like yourselves, that we want to make sure that you guys are continuing to be a part of this journey step by step. So our next thing is to announce who the director is, and maybe the lead. I don't know, but definitely who the director is.
Fun talking to them, I'll say. It's fun it's fun right now at this point when Marvin and I are getting reached out to by, your favorite A-list Black man actor. Just saying, hey, so what's going on with this Defiant project? But, you can't, in this industry, you can't bring on A-list talent until you have a director, right? So the next step is the director. So we're just like so glad to talk to people, and it's a good time right now for that, just for awareness.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
love
fantastic.
that.
That's exciting, right?
That is very exciting.
Look at Sabrina.
Yeah, no, we're
Right.
really
my
excited.
gosh.
And to add to what Chris said, like, we're doing really well on Amazon right now. And the book comes out on Thursday, right?
Juneteenth.
Yeah,
Thursday.
right.
On
Juneteenth,
Thursday the 19th.
Yep.
That's a very significant day for us as Black people.
Yes, indeed.
It's a very significant day for America, despite what the news want us to say. And I think, again, all of these things are in alignment with the story being greater than us, right? And I don't believe in accidents, coincidences, chance, or circumstance at all. I believe that everything happens for a reason, and there's a purpose greater than what we can know and understand now. And here we are now with Defiant coming out on the 19th, on Juneteenth, and it hasn't been an easy thing to get this thing produced and out. And shout out to Stranger Comics, shout out to Rob Edwards, and of course shout out to Legion M, who have been just manning the ship, no pun intended, to get us to this point. and now our focus as a producing team is to make sure, because the graphic novel came only by way of the movie idea, but there was nothing that there was nothing on the shelves in Barnes and Noble or Amazon or anything like that
Right.
that really told this story, So we decided to go that route to actually solidify that this story is being told. So now that we've done that, it's really for us to bring it to the big screen, and that's the focus. So the updates that you'll get after, you hearing that our book is #1, and it's selling out everywhere, which you guys are privy to at this point. But it's going to be, who's directing, who's starring. You'll hear that the project just went into production hopefully soon. So I'm excited about that. I'm really, really excited about that.
And come to Comic-Con. I'll say if you follow us on social.
Come to Comic-Con.
I actually answer a lot of the messages. So when you email at I'm Chris at legionm.com. I'm very accessible. And also I respond to a lot of the socials. This year, I'll tell you right now, I have the privilege of planning a party at Comic-Con. So I don't know if you guys came to the launch of it, but it was incredible. We rented a steamship and we had a party in the middle of San Diego Bay, and it was pretty amazing. So just if there's anything that if you're going to be at Comic-Con, please reach out, let us know, follow us on the socials, and email me, because I definitely want your community to be involved and be at our events as we launch this, celebrate the launch of the graphic novel at Comic-Con.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yes.
Oh boy.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Two questions. Yvette, did you get the link for the indie bookstore?
Yes, I just.
Yeah, I
saw
couldn't post it for
Okay.
some reason, but I wanted to make sure, like, we're
see if I
respectful of that,
can-
of the
see if
fact
I
that not everybody, wants to buy from Amazon. So we
Yep.
also support Bookshop.
Thank you.
Yeah, at bookshop.org.
My little bookseller heart says thank you. I was a bookseller for 10 years at independent bookstores here in DC, and I was a sales rep for Macmillan Publishing. So yes, thank you. Thank you for shouting out the independent bookstores.
Absolutely. And we're going to be featuring that more. It's just out of the gate,
Right.
Amazon sets to deliver right away, and
Yeah.
that helps with the New York Times bestseller status that we're hoping we can get for this book.
Yes, absolutely. I'll be ordering from both. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, my my
I've
local
already
comic shop
pre-ordered.
has it already has it pre-ordered for me, and I did it on Amazon because I know about the that helps with the bestseller list too. So I get that.
And it looks like the Gremlins got Sabrina's
Sabrina,
Wi-Fi.
yeah.
And we
fine.
both had, Sabrina and I have both had like Wi-Fi Gremlins tonight. So I'm like gonna get while the getting's good. You guys are amazing. I just can't tell you how inspirational of a conversation this has been, and how grateful we are for you guys to share your time with us, and also the fact that you're sharing your energy and your talents with such a worthy project, such an amazing project. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for supporting it and being co-conspirators for us in telling this story that the world doesn't
Always.
want to tell.
Every time.
The world doesn't want us to tell.
Yeah.
My tag under there is Defiant AF. And I guess gotta say that the title is perfect for us Trekkies, because it all comes back to Star Trek.
It always comes back to Star Trek.
Defiant is my favorite. The Defiant is my favorite ship in Star Trek.
Well, I should tell you, I
is.
spent a lot of time with Shatner because Legion M, we produced Shatner's last movie.
That's right.
Yeah, we did.
And I spent a lot of time with, and he loves this story. And I've seen him talk to people about Defiant and this story many times. So yeah,
awesome.
I didn't know that about Shatner, but he told me a story real quick. He told me a story that he was told not to kiss Lieutenant Uhura, on screen, or he would lose his job. And he did that, and so he drove that first interracial.
He actually did it on purpose.
Yep. Exactly. He told
At
me
least
that to my
I think it
face.
was like 5 times.
He messed up like all these takes. Yep.
And then he only did one good one, so they had to use that one.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a fact that he told me, and he's told the world, and
Yeah.
So to bring in the Star Trek element, I just wanted to shout that out.
Oh yeah, we
That's awesome.
now that you brought that up, I want to give a big shout out to Legion M. because they have reached out to us. They
Yes.
started reaching out to us because of the Bill Shatner. I actually did interview him and what's his name, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, in New York.
I was on
Yeah.
the red carpet. They were so, they just accommodated everything, brought us up, and then when my dead friend Zoe came out, they did the same thing for us. And then when I heard about this, and I was like, wait a minute, Juneteenth. I was like, let me call Chris and see. And Chris was like, yeah, of course. Let me get right back to you, So shout out to Legion M for always just being there, putting out some good stuff. I mean, they really do put out good stuff.
This is a fan-owned place. So I mean, always remember that. Like, that's why you have so much access and it's easy, is because we're not following the traditional rules of how Hollywood works. So you're not gonna message me and I'm gonna take by default a week and a half to just acknowledge you, right? That's not how we do.
Here she comes. She got back. She's back. We are all, the SyFy Sistas Inc. Is investor of Legion M, so that's why we believe we actually decided to become an investor as a corporation because of this project.
Yes.
This project has been going on for a while, and that's what made us know what Legion M was about. And I was like, we've got to be part of this. And then when my dead friend Zoe came out, we were like, this is really great stuff.
With our captain,
right?
With
it always comes back
Martin
to Star
Green.
Trek.
Yeah,
always comes back to Star Trek.
Morgan Freeman, Ed Harris, Natalie
man,
Morales. That's a squad right there. That's a mean one, you guys. That's streaming now, so go out and support that one for sure.
I just saw it this weekend again.
So again, I mean, we had the director on and everything. It was just,
went to rent. We just
I'm a veteran, so it was great. It hit home. It was a story that just needed to be told, just like this one, a story that needed to be told. And that's why we believe in Legion M. So we'll always be there. Whatever you guys need, just let us know.
We're doing it.
We'll do all kinds of things with them. Yep. Look at all Legion M people in here. I love it.
I know, right? It's so cool. Hey, what's up?
Hey, come on, you guys.
Sabrina, I hope you had a good trip to the Celestial Temple.
Yes, I was there with the prophets. Yes,
yep.
We were
and
there.
Did you see Cisco?
I saw the other Defiant.
The other Defiant.
That name will now have new heart for me when I watch Deep Space Nine and I see that ship, that Defiant. I was like, that's right, the history of that name.
Yes. So when I finally get my vanity plates that say Defiant on it, it will have, like you said, multiple meanings.
Multiple meanings.
There's another tie too, because LeVar Burton was an early advisor there's a lot of, so Legion M has a lot of people on our advisory board, and we have a lot of friends in the industry. You'd be surprised how many people want to open this industry up in the same way that we do. And LeVar Burton was one of the people who initially, him and the other folks that helped put on Roots and a bunch of other things. They were really looking at, they were like, whatever you guys need to get this project out, like, come to us. Just no contract.
Your Black Millionaire.
Just on advisory, you know.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. I love that.
Oh
my God.
So
well, guys, I really could talk to you all night, but I know that everybody has a life. And
late back east. Yeah, let's wrap up.
It's getting late back east, but I know y'all are pretty busy like now, because we can talk and these folks can listen. But I've been tasked with actually like being the one who holds us all together and ties it up, shepherds us. So I'm going to shepherd us on over. Yvette, do you want to talk about what's coming up next?
Yeah. So this week on SyFy Sistas Inc., tomorrow, 2 Moons and a Microphone is back. So come back and see that with our host, Tanya Scott Thomas. You know why I have to do that? Because I know someone named Scott something else, and I always do that. So I want to make sure I got it right. So of course, the same time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. This Friday, we have a new podcast episode coming out with the beautiful, wonderful Ursulyn Bryant, who played Captain Twyla Scott. You won't want to miss this one.
Oh man,
because
talk about the ancestors and the spirits.
Man, we went to school. We was in the front row at Starfleet Academy.
All the SyFy Sistas. Yep.
She was incredible.
She really was. So you'll love that one. If you're a Patreon member, you should have gotten your first look at the headliner, or first listen at the headliner, and 3 a.m. on Friday the episode will be out. So that's it.
Nice.
And is it sponsors?
Nope.
Okay. No.
Sponsors are already done. You're good.
Okay. But if you guys are new here, if anybody's new out there in the chat, please make sure that you subscribe and like us and hit the little bell to get notifications, so you don't miss a moment of our feel good blurty fun. And we love you guys so much for being here. Thank you, everybody who's out there in the chat. And thank you guys who are out there who are not in the chat, but still listening. And I believe that is everything. We're going to go. Peace, love, and hair grease, my friends.
Mm-hmm.